Hello, welcome back to the channel. My name is Kyla, half of Kyla and Alex. We are a newlywed couple from Texas who quit our 9-to-5 jobs to travel for our first year of marriage, kind of like a 1 year honeymoon or a career sabbatical is what we're kind of calling it between the two. But yeah, so today I'm going to be talking about what a 1 month budget has been for us being in Auckland, New Zealand. As of right now, I'm currently filming this in Wellington, New Zealand, which is the capital, but I officially can start giving budgets for what our month is like, months at a time, here in New Zealand. So for month one, we stayed 4 weeks in Auckland, New Zealand, and we kind of want to break down what that cost is. We set a budget to spend $4,000 a month in each destination that we go to. And for us as Americans, we did a little research or did a lot of research to determine that that was a good figure for us to be able to live and play in a destination. Now, especially coming from the United States, like if you think about cost of living, there are not a lot of places in the US that two people can live on $4,000 a month comfortably. And so that's why we want to show that travel doesn't necessarily have to be super expensive. I mean, you could easily spend $4,000 on like a 1 week vacation, but we want to show what $4,000 can get you. So I will get right into what our budget entailed and what we end up spending. Oh, before I go on, I did want to mention that this 1 month is the only month that this happened. For Auckland, we actually had to alter our budget, and this is because we had booked an Airbnb for the month of in Auckland before we even left the United States. Like we booked it ahead of time, and the Airbnb host ended up canceling on us. It was some sort of situation with the Airbnb, so we had to scramble and find a new Airbnb before we even left the United States. So, with that being said, what we ended up doing is we actually had to adjust our budget just for that one first month in Auckland. So for month one in New Zealand, our budget actually is going to be $4,666 to account for the increase in the last minute Airbnb. Because, like I said, we did not have as many options to choose from since we were having to book kind of last minute. But yeah, let's get right into our budget to see if we came under budget for the month. The categories that we use when we are budgeting include accommodation, we do transportation, food, shopping, activities, and then miscellaneous costs. So I'll go over each of what we spent in each and every one of those categories. For category number one, this is for accommodations. We spent $1,865 on accommodations, and that was for a 4 week Airbnb. We stayed in North Shore, in the Birkenhead area of Auckland, and we absolutely loved our Airbnb. It was in a really great location. It was in a quiet neighborhood, but you could get literally to downtown Auckland in like 15 minutes. It was really great. This 1865 is a lot higher than what we were expecting to pay for an Airbnb, but that was because, like I said earlier at the beginning, we had to last minute get a new Airbnb because the one we booked, which was a great price, by the way, ended up canceling on us. So that's why. Also, the Airbnb we stayed at, because I highly recommend it if you're going to Auckland. I will also link the Airbnb that we stayed at too, because we really enjoyed our time there. Anyway, let's get back to the budget. The next line item on the budget is transportation. Now, for transportation, we spent $881, and that's between a monthly rental car plus gas. So we did rent a car. We've rented a car every month. We've been here in New Zealand because New Zealand, honestly, it's kind of like the United States in the sense that the transportation is not that great. You can kind of get around like your local area, but if you want to venture out, you'll need a car. And so we just knew from the jump that we were going to get a rental car. And I recommend, if you're coming to New Zealand, you can just see so much more of this country with a rental car. And that's what we did. The next line item on our budget is activities. And for activities such as excursions, we spent $341 on activities. Now, this includes actually going to Hobbiton, the movie set where they filmed Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. Chef's kiss, please go when you go to New Zealand. We also did a hop on, hop off bus tour of Auckland. We did an amusement park. There's a small amusement park in Auckland, so we paid for tickets to go there. And we also visited the Auckland Museum. So between all of those activities, between the two of us, my husband and I, we spent $341 for the month, which we think was pretty good. We would like to think that was a pretty good amount. So the next item on the list for our budget is food. And this is going to be a cumulative between restaurants and groceries, and then I'll break it down even more. So for food, we spent a total of $833. To break it down a little further, on restaurants, we spent $400 and 59 cents. And then for groceries, we spent $428.91. So between the two, rounded up $833 on food. Now, I would say this is neither bad nor good. To be honest, this was the first month that we truly like cooked, because in Thailand, I never cooked. We didn't have to. You just, the food is so cheap and so accessible. And then before that, in Singapore and Japan, same thing. We stayed in hotels, so we didn't have the opportunity to cook. Plus, food is affordable in Japan, and it was fairly cheap in Singapore too. So here in New Zealand, we did go to the grocery store every week. We bought items, and then, like I said, we also liked to try out the local food in the area. So we did a mix of both. Next line item is we did do a little bit of shopping here in when we were in Auckland. We spent a total of $333, and I will say for that we did go and buy a couple of clothing items, including the sweater that I have on. I did buy this sweater, and we bought actually like a really cheap cell phone. We spent about $200 on a cell phone because we just wanted a cell phone that was separate from our phones, and it was a New Zealand number, and so we ended up purchasing that. So we do have a New Zealand phone. And then the last line item on the list is miscellaneous expenses. And these items were things that didn't really fit into the other categories, so we just kind of lumped them here. And we use a miscellaneous expenses category each month. We totaled $140 on miscellaneous expenses. And those include Alex got a haircut here in New Zealand. We purchased eSIMs here. We topped off our eSIMs, and we include our travel insurance in that cost. I did kind of want to go back to eSIMs because what we use for eSIMs is a company called Nomad for our eSIM, and what we actually have been doing are using instead of getting a one country specific eSIM, for us it ended up being more cost efficient to just get like the Asia Pacific region eSIM. It ended up being a couple dollars cheaper than a straight up New Zealand eSIM. And so that's what we do. And if anyone is interested in Nomad eSIM, I will put a link below for the eSIM. All together, keep in mind, our budget was adjusted, it was inflated a little. So our budget for the month going into New Zealand was going to be $4,666. Drum roll. $4,393. Now, for us, we are under budget. Technically, we are under budget for the month because, like I said, we created we had to adjust our budget because of this freaking Airbnb. But I would say altogether that averaged around $156 a day for two people, or around $78 per person per day. So this is, like I said, our first month in Auckland. This is what our total came down to. Let us know in the comments what you think about our $4,393 to spend 28 days, 4 weeks in Auckland. Is that something that you're like, oh my gosh, you guys rocked? You did an awesome job? Or you're like, oh my gosh, I could never spend that much. You spent way too much money in Auckland. What the heck were y'all doing? Yeah, let us know in the comments. Stick around for our next video. We actually are, like I said, we're kind of backlogging because we've officially been here 3 months in New Zealand. And so we will continue. Our next budget video will be on the Bay of Plenty because we spent another 4 weeks, 1 month there. So we will catch you guys in the next video. Bye.